James, you can throw a rock at anywhere and you're going to hit glass. And so that was just a really powerful thing that I heard of like, man, that's really true. Truth be told, we went into bankruptcy. And so my dad restructured everything, laid off the whole crew. We were a union at the time. And so restructured from curtain wall to doing interiors.
A lot of people that are watching this know they need to be doing it, but fear, although people won't say it, is probably the overriding decision factor.
And then if they can't do math and fractions to save their life, then obviously the glass isn't going to fit.
And just put myself out there, whether it looks dumb or looks fun or whatever. Yeah, I'm not scared anymore.
I feel like this can go on for 10 hours, but unfortunately, we got to call it quits.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Glass GPT. Alongside me, my co-host, Mr. Brandon, the maestro. And today's guest, coming from Gibraltar Glass out of Texas, which, by the way, they say everything is bigger in Texas. And so isn't this guy, James LaRocca. Thanks for joining us. How you doing, sir?
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, just have seen y'all's content for the last couple of years now, and just super encouraged by y'all, and just glad to be on the show.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Yes, mad respect. Well, as you know, if you've seen any of these episodes in the past, Brandon usually kicks off with a question. Who are you? What's your origin story? Kind of lay the groundwork for this podcast for us.
Yeah. So my name's James LaRocca. I'm a third generation, interior glass owner. We originally started not as an interior glass shop owner or shop. My grandfather started in 1981 when we bought a building company called AGC Building Materials from the company that my grandfather and my dad were working at. They wanted to, they wanted to sell their division and their whole company because they thought that their excess money would do better in the stock market as opposed to just having the glass company at the time in 81. And so it's a little bit different time back then. So my grandfather and my dad had a conversation and it's like, hey, there's an opportunity to buy this glass division. Would you join in with me? So my dad and, four of their partners joined in and, bought the glass division in 1981. And it started out as a curtain wall company where we did, high rises and all the big builds there in terms of the commercial space on the exteriors and the shell, but got to a place in the early 90s where we got super competitive here in Dallas on that side. And so we made the decision to change up. Truth be told, we went into bankruptcy. And so my dad restructured everything, laid off the whole crew. We were a union at the time. And so restructured from curtain wall to doing interiors. So in the early 90s, transitioned to everything as we saw an opportunity with our field engineers, we like to call them, eventually, gave the idea of, hey, what do we think about just going on the interior side of things and just doing that scope solely? And that's our only product that we'll be selling and installing. So they did that. And it turned out to be, very slow growth, but very consistent. And so we had same number of GCs that we had with our curtain wall stuff that we just transitioned them on the inside. Grew along with them as they grew and, turned out to where it's kind of one of those repeat business things and repeat talent. So we, as guys grew and guys joined on, friends of theirs joined, sons of theirs joined. And so being around since 81, there's a lot of longevity and a lot of just growth and teaching along the way of just tribal knowledge of the glass trade. And so that's essentially how it came about. I came along the picture in 2017. My faith was super important to me and, just doing some mission trips. At the time I was I'd gone through, as working in restaurants for a while through college to working in telecom management to then working in pharmacy. And through pharmacy, I'd done some mission work where I was going to Africa and it just came, it's just kind of just a thought bubble of mine of like, man, all these kids are just, living their lives out of fear, don't have anything. Like, why don't I just have a conversation with dad on just, join the family business? So something that was always on my heart. And so when I moved, came back from doing that trip, had a conversation and, ended up joining the business in 2017. Was working as an assistant and, came along and just kind of transitioned some systems and, just worked alongside him on finance and essentially just becoming more, involved on a CFO level and CEO level as we continue to transition the business and dial him back some. And so it's been a journey. I've been with Gibraltar now for 9 years. I mean, did some stuff growing up, just different just onesie twosie things with some of the field guys. But I was around the shop, always learning, always try to ask questions and just kind of understand the books on what my dad was usually doing. So, but yeah, and so now, transitioned to look now. Been North Texas Glass Association president here in Dallas. So I have a great group of, just humbled to be around a lot of great glass shops who really just eager to learn and eager to grow and to do that on my part time, as well as have a little side business where I work with a company called Estate Capture that I started, where I work for building owners and market their media and have a seat at the table, so to speak, to enter in any kind of TI that they have on the market that they need as well. So
Yeah, that's a lot. So a couple
That's a
interesting
lot.
things there. Yeah, a couple interesting things. So you'd mentioned that early on, you guys decided to go with interior only. Now, was that interior only or mostly in commercial?
all commercial. We have a few side projects with just friends of family who had some homes that maybe need a shower door, a mirror done, or something along those lines. But majorly, I'd say 95% of our projects were interior finish out. There was a storefront here and there. We recently launched a storefront division. This has been something we've done, partly over time, but we hired an estimator here to primarily do those bids now. So
That's crazy. Okay, so another thing that I thought was interesting is you mentioned you also do media. I saw that you have a big ass drone, and that we talked about getting certified, getting a pilot license, which you have, which I respect, by the way. I saw your videos; they look good. So you're involved with the marketing on your side business. What kind of marketing are you doing at Gibraltar, or if any?
yeah, so I run a daily. Now it's daily. It used to be about four. It is just kind of a slow build of like 2-3 posts a week to 4 a week, and now I'm trying to do just daily and just and just put myself out there, whether it looks dumb or looks fun or whatever, just to have some kind of article or some kind of video of what I'm doing, because there's just so many different things out there that you can catch and record, and someone may pick up on it of some tip or some a trick that may help them, or really just bring a new awareness of just who we are as a glass trade, right? And so having all the events that we're doing with the North Texas, there's stuff out there, always be able to market stuff on our jobs, finished jobs, just different, going out, talk to customers. I mean, Keith, I mean, model some of you. I mean, you're doing that and see that. And, I think that, it's a huge, benefit to us in the glass trade. I feel like it wasn't done a lot. And I feel like you've been a leader in the sense of like where the glass trade, I feel like, was reactive. You're putting out there to be proactive. And so, props to you. So,
Appreciate you saying that. I don't get a lot of flowers. I like that. First, I want to throw it back on you. Anytime I hear anybody that's willing to give up time out of their life to go help people that are less fortunate than us, I think deserve a free pass straight to the upper room. Like, that is unbelievable mission work. Anytime that you can do something selfish and be an amazing ambassador of this beautiful country, I commend you on that. I don't know what it's like because I've never done that. I've helped people within my circle, but I've never traveled abroad. That's absolutely amazing. So kudos to you. Massive amounts of respect. There's so much that I want to break apart on your first introduction, but because you just mentioned it on the social media, you started off 1 post, 2 posts. You're at a point now where you don't even know if it's stupid or not, but you're still posting. Was there a catalyst along the way or something that happened that kind of gave you that epiphany? You're like, I need to be doing this on a regular basis. Like, did something happen, or what was it that made you think this has to be something that I'm doing on a daily basis?
I think there's a couple people, right? Like, I mean, the greats, I mean, right now, I mean, like Gary Vee, Dan Martell's really good right now. I'm one of his coaching students. I mean, you've mentioned that too, of just getting out there and posting something. I think that, Brandon's been good at it. I think there's some other, folks around, that I've seen or I'm following that do a good job of, that are always on podcasts and always just putting themselves out there. And so I think that, modeling them and just putting myself out there, I think getting to where I'm scheduling folks who do podcasts now and just saying, hey, I'm not scared anymore. Just, hey, there's wisdom here. There's wisdom to be learned. And so just opening up and seeing, where things go, just stepping out in faith and just being like, hey, look, it's fun. At the end of the day, like it brings awareness and you learn something. So,
well, I want to commend you on doing that, because I think a lot of people that are watching this know they need to be doing it, but fear, although people won't say it, is probably the overriding decision factor on whether they should do it or not, whether they're afraid to get in front of the camera, whether they're afraid to be made fun of their peers, whatever the case may be. The fact that you were able to trust your faith and jump over that speaks volume to what type of person you are. And definitely, I see massive amounts of success for you because you're willing to take that. And I'm excited to meet you and watch that happen. Sorry, Brandon.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. So before we get into the meat and potatoes, I just wanted to ask you also, how did you come to be the president of the North Texas Glass Association? If you can tell us that story, and what does that even entail? Because I've never been a part of anything official like that in my life, other than the companies I work for, or own, or this podcast. So I have no clue. I was the president of the HOA once. I didn't like it, where I live. So yeah, if you want to shed some light on what that's about.
Yeah, I mean, it really was kind of small, like just some small faithful steps, right? Like Keith was talking about, just putting myself out there. So I think it started by just wanting to become a member of NGA, and once doing that, I started to see Andrew Haring, who was like, okay, man, I got to meet this guy. So me and my wife had a trip to Utah, and it was like, let's just make a short trip to Colorado, and let me meet this guy. So I sent him a message like, hey, love to meet you. Seen you doing posts, like, want to hang out. He's like, come down to the bar, let's chat. So just did, and just learned about him. He learned a little bit about me, and I love his catchphrase. I don't know if he's said it to any of y'all, but on his catchphrase, but at least it stuck out to me. He's like, James, you can throw a rock at anywhere and you're going to hit glass. And so that was just a really powerful thing that I heard of, like, man, that's really true. And so like, in a sales perspective, if you feel down, like you really look anywhere and there's an opportunity there. And so, unless you're in a wide area of land, maybe in West Texas, but still they need to build things but so I took that from him. But all that to say is, like, it came to meeting him, which he introduced me to just other folks. Once he got to FHC, and then just hearing from him, just connecting with going to more NGA conferences, and then seeing Country Glass, who's a nearby shop of mine, and just going up to him and saying, hey, we're neighbor glass shops, love to sit at this table with you and listen. And so then connecting with them, and then getting to know them more, and then them coming to my shop and be like, hey man, we'd love for you to come to the meetings and just check it out. And so I would go to the NTGA meetings, and then, eventually got on the board, and they were like, hey, let's vote this guy in. And then it just came to a place where it's circumstance of like, hey, we're looking for the next president. We're putting your name in the hat. What do you think? I was like, I was about to have had a baby on the way, or I'd already had an infant, and then my second was on the way, about to be born. And so I was like, yeah, this is a busy season, but hey, what was the phrase? Better to take bird than bird in one hand.
Yes.
Whatever it is. Yeah. So it's a great opportunity. I'm grateful that they thought of me, and appreciative, as it's just a great group of folks, and there's a lot of just solid people who are very competitive and very just wise. And so it's just one of those things where they just thought of me, just an opportunity, and hey, I was just I was already just serving folks and in my glass shop, and just attending other events. So just this aspect of wanting to learn and going to those just different events that are around, and whether it's statewide or countrywide. So
who is allowed to join what are some of the rules to go along with joining? Is it the North Texas Glass Association?
It's under umbrella of TGA. And so we're the Dallas Association, and there's a Houston association as well. It's all under the TGA umbrella. And so you have to be a member of TGA at least 1 year, and then you can become a board member, be considered. But there's also a ratio of glass shops versus suppliers. You don't want too much suppliers, and then all the suppliers are going to be hitting you up. You want to kind of even out the glass shops and the glass suppliers, so everyone has an even kind of just ratio of.
What type of members are you currently looking for?
We're looking for just more glass shops, really. We want to keep those ratios up, as we get so many glass suppliers and hardware suppliers that want to join the association, because it helps them put in light too. Is we're hosting lunch and learns, like for instance Ted, who came, or like we have CRL or some others, Texas Glass technical glass products we're hosting tomorrow. So that gives them opportunity for them to, speak to a crowd, but also be informative of what they're sending materials out to, and what is involved in their company. And so we're looking for more glass shops so we can get the ratio up. So then more, because we get a lot of suppliers that want it, and we just have to keep getting those glass shops up. So me and Christina, who's the past president, and Valerie, who's the vice president right now, just continuing to doing some outreach, and all the other board as well. So,
wow. So let's dive right in. So you're heavy in the commercial. Keith and I, we're more heavy into the residential, but we have done some commercial, and I myself want to do more commercial, which we'll get into. But I want to talk about Division 8 versus Division 10. And so for anyone who's a residential guy like myself has no idea what that means, can you explain to us the difference between Division 8 and Division 10 and why that matters?
And dumb it down.
Pretend
industry. You're talking to like a 10-year-old so I can understand it.
So in construction documents, so the construction space, it's just, each curtain wall, residential, interiors, all different animals, right? Like each has its own special sauce. Within, construction documents for commercial, and they're usually categorized in all these divisions. So, glass and glazing have always lived in the Division 8, which is in openings, essentially. It's the exterior skin, the storefronts, the doors and frames, the curtain wall. That's essentially the glazer's home, is where they've been.
The envelope of the building is Division 8.
And the inside as well. So it's been
for glazers,
doors
right?
and frames, doors and frames. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for glazers. So it's been a glazing division, essentially, and that's been the home of all glazers on the commercial side of things. But over the last few decades, a growing share of interior glass, has been moved to demountable partitions or movable glass walls. And it's architectural office fronts, and they got written into Division 10, which are specialties. Specialties is more, kind of your restrooms and your walls, and it's just, the glass didn't really change. It's just a filing thing. And so it's just been something that's quietly been happening over the last 20 years. We saw it. Italy came over in 2004, 2005. All of our field engineers would see them on the job, and they just, ship over, have their team do their little movable walls and then go back. And, what happened was we saw is that the field verify wasn't there. It was just a install and go. The measuring was, their tribal knowledge was not there. It's just part of an additional, hey, you got our furniture. It's nice. It's just something additional that we'll add on and just slap it on and, have, it partitioned in a way that, made sense to them. And then they'd go off and you wouldn't hear from them again. So then there'd be a callback from a GC or, hey, why is this, the tolerances are off, or the STC rating, you can hear everything coming through in and out of the buildings. We're having private conversations here, talking about our books, talking about, our goals for the future. Why can we hear through that? And so all these different things that are tribal knowledge to us, got kind of put over on that Division 10 side, for whatever reason. And what through research I find out is that these furniture system companies, they have the budget. They've been around for hundreds, 200 years. So they have a business development budget. They're going in, bypassing GCs, talking to building owners, going, hey, it's been 5-7 years you've had this building. You're probably due for a refresh, right? So why don't we get you some glass along with this furniture and sell it out and cycle you out and give you an opportunity. So they'd find them, approach them, sell them on this bill of goods, sell the architect to them, write in the spec. And then by that point, GC's cut out and glass has nowhere to be found. And so some of that has been happening where full floor suites and full floor different things go along the process. And so I find it similar, to, telling Keith earlier, just the Ubering and taxi thing in New York City, where the taxis kind of, held a medallion of just, locked into this certain, way of doing things for their drivers, to where other folks who would, try to come in would be bypassed out because it was a political kind of stance, and, just they owned the market. And, and what would happen is that, Uber kind of went and bypassed some of that, being locked out and just offering a new way and a new, opportunity for price to not be at this level. And because what I'm seeing some of these demountable systems, if they're marked up, but there's something wrong being marking up your price or your bill of goods. But when you're marking it up to a certain extent, you're like, okay, maybe there's something going on here that we need to maybe double click on. And so that's where we've come in and be like, hey, if you unpack Division 8, you can see where all the materials and where the price is. If you're not doing that with Division 10, you're not able to see what you compete with, and you can't offer the customer an alternative. And so that's where we've come in with VE options, with value engineering, to offer another option to GCs and architects of just showing them there's an additional way by unpacking the materials and using different materials and showing your price. And to where Division 10 is completely just in the owner architect furniture system, just where GC isn't involved. And so we're trying to market the Division 8 portion of where the glass house is, and just communicate the field verifying the tribal knowledge is going to be surpassing your furniture system in the sense of just having the wisdom alone, because the costs you're going to pay with not only the markup, but then the callbacks too. You're going to have to call back, they've done their job, they're out in the Northeast or overseas, and you got to call warranty department, and maybe they're in some union, so specific guys who are dedicated to those jobs, who have their certifications, and now you're kind of lost. So we've had to go find Chinese glass that's overseas, match different Chinese hardware, and so that some of these systems are using. So it's just a all and about turnaround way of trying to find out how can we serve the customer. And so where we really found out, hey, if we just communicate on the front end, we're able to value engineer and field verify. Why not try us? We've done it for this long anyway.
So are you saying Division 10, it was designed for the office furniture scope, and in there was these demountable systems, and the Division 8 was all the glass, the envelope of the building, the interior glass, all the openings. And so Division 10 isn't necessarily dedicated to Glaziers. However, there's glass components in it. And I found, it's funny that you say this, because I found myself competing with a several commercial office furniture places. Maybe I do this on every show, 6 or 7 years ago, and found out about this demountable shit. And I'm thinking to myself, as a layman, if I can mount it, then it can be demounted. So is there a special classification or certification that you have to get on a product to be considered demountable? And second part of this, is it true that if somebody purchased a demountable, let's say 20 offices, they wanted to enclose them and they were demountable during a retrofit or remodel, that under section 179 of the U.S. tax code, that this can be depreciated 100% in the first year because it's considered office furniture and not a build out?
Right. So there's a tax structure that they marketed very well. And that's where a lot of this, I've been told that in the 80s, they did some of this, and then it kind of went away. And now it's been back like the last, since really COVID, they've used it again. And it's just gone, very, just a lot more. And so essentially, what I've heard is there are certifications out there that are happening, where union may be some kind of involved, some kind of different things there. I'm more on the side of, field verify, keep it in-house. Glass shops all around the country, we can handle this. We know the field, we know the tribal knowledge, we know the hardware, we know the glass. Having local suppliers, local offices, and local installers, you're able to have an actual person to call if anything goes wrong, and you're able to send them out because you're local and have offices nearby. Has been the better way to go. We've seen that over time happening really well. And Division 10 is, with their tax classifications, you can classify your Division 8 if you wanted to, in a way. There's different kinds of things out there. There's tape. There's different things I can send you all after this, where you basically tape the screws, and you can pull the tape off of your drywall. Take the drywall. It's not demoed. You just pull the drywall off one at a time, and it's a demountable system, and it's just categorized now under that code because of this tape that's been approved by the Treasury that gives you that opportunity. So
I was pissed when I found it out, but truth be told, I kind of had respect for whoever the marketing genius was back in the 80s to kind of figure that classification. I mean, that's like guerrilla marketing 101 right there. That was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, props to them.
I just want to add, I just want to break it down in case there's some slower thinkers like myself. But I watched this play out in real time because I grew up with this industry, and I remember this happening in real time where we were losing jobs to what's called a demountable system, and nobody can figure out or put a finger on what exactly is a demountable system. But I want to back it up even more, just a little, just to make it crystal clear for anyone that doesn't understand. So Division 8 is the area where the glazier lives. That's the glass. That's all the glass. It's always been. Division 10 is the hardware and the furniture. And the difference is that glass depreciates because glass is considered a permanent part of the building, that it depreciates over a span of 39 years, whereas furniture, where the demountable part comes in, depreciates over a span of 7 years. And in some cases, that entire cost can be written off in advance, which is why there's a huge incentive for owners of buildings to have their glass be considered Division 10 for that incredible tax benefit, right? So I just wanted to back it up there. And then my question to you is, so can you break down exactly once and for all, what is a demountable system so that I can go and market it to my place, to my people?
I'm doing a green screen tonight about the tax benefits that too, FYI.
I don't know how they market it in a way. It essentially just there's a certain CSI that you have to look at. Just is it removable? Can it be actually removed from?
That's idiotic. Like if it was installed, how can it not be uninstalled?
It's just one of those things. Like I talked to architects last week of just an interior finish out we did, and they were like, this is gonna be hard sell for the CPA to do it under this potential Division 10 division. You're gonna have to go a separate route, and there's other routes to go, but then there's also so let's back up. Like drywall, you can do it. Stay under the Division 8, stay the traditional way, all of that. You may run the risk of demo, you may run the risk of having a permanent thing there, but you're going to win overall with field verify, all of that. Division 10, you can get in there too by having a specific, for us it'd be a specific tape type thing or a slim line type product that you come up with, that you partnered with and a furniture system with their product that can be potentially be removable, that they've come out with, that you can essentially install. I don't like that place. I want to stay on the field verify, and if not field verify, use our tape that I've heard of that that can be used in different divisions outside of 10. And so there's actually a newer way to even get around some of this. It's not even Division 10 that I'm learning, that you can actually use your glazing shop to go into that division, use the tape to cover up the screws, and then once you're done with the tape, you can pull it off and make it removable, so to speak. So it really comes down to Division 10 is removable. It can be depreciated. CPA can sign off on it, and it's part of the it's not part of the building structure, and that's the clear classification. There are other routes to take Division 8 in different areas if you don't have that specific product.
What products have you used that have been classified as Division 10? Like,
we're working on that. We've done majorly with our Division 10 customers. It's been with tabletops and working with them as a dealer, and to where we found a way where they're measuring with their tabletops, at least in the beginning. Not having that tribal knowledge, we'd have a lot of reordering. So we'd work with them directly with hey, you want our glass? It's going to be better quality, US made. Have installers come in and put the buttons on your desk, those kind of things. We did a lot of that with our Division 10 customers over the years. But primarily we are still Division 8 because that field verify wins out. And, just our customers don't like the callbacks. They don't like the, additional, what have you, of the pain of, not finding the right, product or right hardware, right, glass. What kind of glass is this? What did the plan say? Is some, different, kind of marketable, system that just really, they don't specifically like. We'll get a lot of, even building owners would be like, we don't want to bid that demountable system. We want to go with Gibraltar because they have a product that we like, and we want to, stick with that. And we don't care about the quote unquote tax break, but we are doing additional, especially with that tape that we're talking about that offers a opportunity to make it, removable.
I wonder if we can, just a thought, but I wonder if we can somehow get or market, maybe it's idiotic, but maybe we can market the fallbrick system as a demountable, because you measure and cut them square regardless of out conditions. You put flat metal to cover the fasteners, and the glass and hardware is easily removable because none of it is siliconed in place, because you just pull the vinyl, pull the stops, glass comes out, and you can, as long as it's can physically fit in another opening. I wonder if that can be classified as a Division 10.
So yeah, sorry, I misspoke. So that's been on our radar, is the fallbrick specifically with CRL, and I know FHC had just come out with a product as well that they're marketing too. So they are on our radar to do the Division 10 aspect of just partnering with them on that solely. So that is our Division 10 option, but primarily we kind of sit in that Division 8, and then we're coming up with that.
Is it classified, Brando? Is it classified as Division, or I'm sorry, as demountable? As demountable?
I don't have any idea, because it seems like it would be, just logically, just thinking about it based on what you said.
I feel like Dormacaba has. I was at a glass build like 2 or 3 years ago, and when I first learned about demountable and that tax code and how I was losing jobs to this furniture guy, I'm like, this guy doesn't even know how to read a fucking tape measure, and I'm losing jobs to these interior offices to a commercial guy who sells chairs, like ergonomic chairs and desks. I'm thinking, I should not be losing jobs to this guy. And then when I found out he's got that tax thing in his pocket, I'm like, okay, demountable. This is our business. We should be able to find something that's demountable. So I feel like there's companies out there that specifically put together unitized systems that are classified as demountable. I don't know how much regulation is around that, but I think we're going to have to contact our friends at Sarah Lawrence and FHC to see if both of them can get this shit out there so we can move that product out of Division 10 into Division 8 and still allow the customer to experience that massive tax break. Like,
I think it comes down to PE, right? So offering an additional bid on that to your G. So depending on who you work with, if you're working with building owners, I think there's a way to go in there and have, CRL, has an architectural firm, and you can partner with them to do that. And we're working on that to do that. FHC does the same thing, and as soon as they launch more, we'll be working with them to do that. But on the other side of it, if you're just primarily working with GCs, like offering just a different scope, like, hey, this is our product, but here's CRL. If you have the choice of which one you want, CRL will be the demountable system, and you can kind of just have it up the chain. But the whole point is that you'd need to get either GC to bid out the Division 10, or you just show them a VE option, and then they kind of go from there on going up the chain to architect, building owner, and what have you. But and a lot of it depends on architect too. Is this another this battle within a battle too? Because the architects are speccing specific hardwares. So
not in Florida.
Give it Texas. Yeah. Well, there you go. So there's an opening for you there. So
yes,
but we have to deal with that fight here. Is how do you communicate and educate, really? Because we educate our architects to just, hey, this is our product. This is also another building company CRL that you already spec. They offer a Division 10 product too. So just offering those solutions and educating them of like, hey, we're getting a lot of callbacks from our customers on they don't know how to measure the STC ratings. Is it really STC rating? Are they actually doing a corporate office where they can test those STCs? Because there's some real things there, especially with the type of glass you're using.
Okay, let's drill down on that. For everybody that's listening to this, and I'm going to take your word for it, even though I've done my own research, so I hope it aligns with what you're going to say. If somebody was building out an office and sound was one of the most important components for them, are they better off using insulated glass or laminated glass?
Laminated.
What's that?
Say laminated.
Yes. Yeah. That's what I was told too. I wasn't aware of that. I actually thought, before I learned about that, I thought it might have been the insulated, because the vibration without the two pieces touching, the voice wouldn't vibrate through. But after doing some research, it was the laminated glass with that not thermal barrier, but the barrier of the laminate being in there, deadening the sound. So the laminate is actually better for noise reduction.
100%.
Yeah.
What's crazy about that is it's also better for keeping in temperature, which is why I love using the Fallbrook for wine cellars, because I use thick laminated glass. Not only keeps out the sound, but keeps in the cool. And one thing I found when I was last time I ordered a Fallbrook is that they actually have like a rope that goes inside of the channels that further improves the STC rating on it, which is pretty sweet. But James, you said something earlier that that was interesting to me. You said that you worked directly with the furniture company. Have you ever like offered like the same bid that you would offer to a GC glass products, but offer it to the furniture company themselves?
We've been asked to, but for right now, with where we're headed with the company, we want to continue to do field verify and then work in another division that I'm learning. I'd love to get more information. I'm just not wise enough on it yet, and so I think that the tape that I've learned about here recently is offering solutions in a lot of divisions with quote unquote permanent glass walls that you see a lot in Division 8. The tape will actually give you that option to open some of that up. And so that's what I'm learning and what we're focusing on as to where that may come into play, where we're bidding with furniture systems and they're not going away. But I also know that the tribal knowledge that, they are recognizing that they want to hire out that tribal knowledge. And I do respect that they see some of that and they are, coming. We've had several come to us of, hey, we're bidding this particular project. Can we hire you to do glass? Well, sometimes it's actually a project we're bidding too. So I'd rather just bid it and have our markup than have to work within their markup and we're getting cut out of that.
Sure, I would just give them the same bid. So that's double the chance to win, huh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's crazy. So I want to tell you a story real quickly before we get on to, you could ask us whatever questions you want. But so at my last company, we had a commercial side. I was a commercial installer for a lot of years. And so we had the sales manager was a commercial guy. He ended up leaving that company and going to work for a place called Pear, I think. This guy's retired, so I don't care if he's listening. But anyway, like he started a glass division at a furniture company. And he did that for a number of years until COVID hit. And then so COVID hit and that shit went down the drain. But this guy, he started a glass division at a furniture place, and he recruited all the best people from our company to go install glass for him at this other company, which is pretty interesting.
Slime ball.
Yeah. He's one of the guys. When people ask, I always say he followed his passion and he took on a job as a VP of testing at an adult toy factory. I swear to God, I say that when anybody asks me. Yeah.
And then the universe did what it was supposed to do and delivered COVID, which was a blessing in disguise because it probably put them out of business.
Sure did.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we're beating the dead horse. So why don't we go ahead and flip the script and go ahead and ask us any questions that you want, as usual.
Good info, by the way, James. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So it's something in Gibraltar. We've been looking just at different opportunities with different products that are out there and being more of a full glazing shop. And so on my radar has been residential, and you two are the guys to talk to on that. So I feel like seeing y'all's content, you'll be the good guys to test these questions. So if you were launching a residential division inside a commercial glass shop today, what would you do first and what would you avoid?
Brandon, am I going first?
Yeah.
The first thing that I would do, first of all, you need to have sales. And we already talked about you doing social media every day. So that's a given. I would probably go through all the contractors that you have, because I know, and I'm making an assumption, but here in Florida, there are some contractors that are heavy commercial, but they do some residential because some of those business owners are investors. They haven't built spec houses, so on and so forth. So I'd probably comb through my list of contractors, telling them you're offering a residential division, because to me, that would be low hanging fruit, right? To kind of get in. They already can trust you. And once you have trust, you can get a lot more leeway on what they're willing to kind of allow you to try something new, even though at the end of the day, it's plumb square and level, no different than what you're installing in. I'm not making light of what we all install, but if you're installing panel door panel with transoms in an office, that's not far off from how we're doing heavy glass frameless shower enclosures. A lot of these people are putting these offices in their homes. Okay, so the only difference is you're going to a residential home from a commercial space. I would start there. And then, of course, I imagine you're already actively going over a lot of the architects. And if you can get any of your products or name spec'd into any of their plans, it doesn't matter what builder gets it. And my whole career, I've tried doing that because I found my mentor, one of them, Tom Whitaker from Mr. Shower Door in Norwalk, Connecticut. I remember him showing me, Keith, if you can get an architect to spec your shower door, that's why we always branded our shower doors with a name. If they could put that name into their spec, no matter what builder gets it, he's going to be calling you. Not that other glass shops can't get it, but at least I have the first opportunity to talk with that builder. And if I can build up enough rapport with him, there's a very good possibility that we're going to get the job. So I would probably start with all your current contractors, identify which ones are doing residential, or just tell them all that you're starting a residential division. And at the end of the day, every single one of those people shower, right? So they don't necessarily need to build the houses to actually buy a shower enclosure. So as many people as you can tell from the top of a mountain, that's what I would be doing.
Okay, so
we did do that. Oh, sorry, Brandon. Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead. You can finish your thoughts.
But yeah, we have done C-suite showers, which is a rare occurrence. But yeah, I mean that's one of those things. And then, like I mentioned earlier, some of the homeowners. But yeah, no, that's totally true. Yeah.
Okay, so that's the sales side. I just want to touch on the execution side. So I have personally worked as a residential everything and a commercial everything. And from my perspective, the two different worlds collide in this one area, and that's in the custom work and the tribal knowledge of doing the residential side specifically. And one example I can give of that is that in commercial, you usually use 1.5-inch channel. You usually eliminate out conditions. You usually have no out conditions if you could help it. But in residential, you're working with a lot tighter tolerances, and you're working with the specialty niche products that are designed for a specific application. And in today's day and age, those products evolve over time. So I feel like the kind of products that you use in a house are different than that of what you use inside a commercial. And I understand this difference. And because of that, I feel like we can design things in such a way that they look beautiful and function well. So for example, when I install or when I design offices inside of a home, I design them with low profile shower door channel because I believe that it looks better than using the commercial stuff. So I say all this to say that what I would do if I were you is I would make sure I have a guy that knows residential really, really well. And when I say knows, I mean a guy that knows how to order shower doors specifically, because it is a skill, a guy that knows how to measure them, that knows how to install any which way you can even think about it. Like there's like, it's almost like a whole nother knowledge base. Like where at my previous company, there was like shower guys and there were commercial guys. And the difference is usually like the fine-tuned details, right? So I think that right there can bite you if you don't watch that carefully.
Yes, I appreciate the wisdom. That's really good. The second question I would say is builder track programs versus direct to homer retail. Which do you prefer and why? I feel like I know the answer to this already.
All right, I'll go first this time.
How would you balance the two?
I'll go first this time. Custom home builders and design firms, design build firms, 100% for the very specific reason that they are repeat business. You put the effort to win them over just once. And so long as you take care of them and do a good job, it's like, it's repeat forever. You just got to take care of them. Whereas direct to consumer, you have to win them over every single time, which isn't a big deal. But I prefer pouring more of my energy into the long-term repeat relationships.
I don't disagree with Brandon. However, I take you back to 2003 when we first started My Shower Door. Myself, brother, and father, we were competing in a market with 3 big players, and the only thing they did is went after the tract housing developments out here, where it's 2,000 homes with Pulte and 1,500 homes with Lennar, and then there was the custom home builders, where they already had all those relationships. So we went heavy marketing directly to the end user. Now, that was well for us in the beginning because we weren't competing with anybody. We were going after the retrofit. Take out your old shower enclosure, put in a frameless one, 50% deposit, 50 on completion. It was a clean business. When 2008 came and they stopped building the new construction, our three competitors went out of business. Now, not all the builders went out of business, but our competitors went out of business. And that's kind of when we got our catapult up to start taking on the customers like Brandon was talking about, which, by the way, we're very grateful for them because we've developed a relationship where they're very loyal to us and we get that repeat business, which I would always encourage to try and land, but there's no guarantee because you get the market. And depending on, now, I'm not saying we're always going to have a market, but it seems like every 10 or 15 years, we go through a correction in the market. And that's, if you're heavy on these big tract housing developments, you're susceptible to being caught with your pants around your ankles. Plus, anytime you go after any of those big wigs, and what Brandon was alluding to was the high-end custom builder. So that's not what I'm about to say. The tract housing developments, they want to tell you how much they're going to pay because they have a lot of buying power leverage. Their terms typically suck. You know, they're 90, 120 days out on their payment, no deposit. So you're basically financing their project. However, there's heavy volume. So, you know, it's for salespeople to wrap their head around, well, I'd rather go try and land one customer that I can get 2,000 houses. I know that seems attractive, but from a profitability standpoint, you'd rather have 10 of the custom home builders like Brandon was talking about. The volume might not be there, but your margin's there. You're going to be getting paid quicker. I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer here. I just wouldn't, if it were me, I wouldn't put all my eggs in one basket. By co-branding for new construction and residential, you're setting yourself up for, God forbid, there's another market crash and you start building name recognition within your community in the home. I mean, who doesn't want to get paid 50 up, 50 down? I mean, that's about as good as it gets. You know, cash is king in these businesses, especially a startup in a new area. You can't make any decisions if you don't have any money coming in. And the marketing on social media is easy for that because every single person that's on social media showers. So whether they're new construction or they have a residential home or they want to rip out one more thing, the tract housing developments down here in Florida, which I imagine are the same in both of your areas, the statistic shows that within 5 years of those tract housing homes being sold, that people go through a remodel because they take the bare minimum that the builder's offering just to get into the house. Now they're in there, they feel comfortable, they got their budget right. Now they want to start renovating. So there's a lot of them we don't even go after. We're going to go after them once they're in the house because we know we're fetching better margins and it's cleaner money. We're not waiting for the money at higher margins. So I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I would just try and diversify.
That's great. Thank you, guys. That's really good wisdom. Yeah. For sure. This last one that I had for both of you is, and I have more if we have time, but who do you watch as the residential operator you measure yourself against?
Well, can you clarify that question? Say it again.
Yeah. Who do you watch as the residential operator you measure yourself against? Like, so who are you comparing yourself to? Like, who are you learning from the most?
Oh. Well, you're looking at him. I'm learning from Keith right there. And then I have like the owner at Baron Glass. You know, we go back nearly 25 years. I learned from him. I have a lot of people I've worked with for a long time. I talk to other owners in our own town because I know everybody by way of content. And every week that we have a podcast, I meet somebody new, and they always have a piece of wisdom that I can learn from. So I guess the answer isn't just one person, but it's literally everybody. And this is something that's been like steamrolled and like exponentially getting better by way of doing this podcast because we meet new people all the time, which is fantastic.
I'm going to give you 3 people, and those 3 people are after I shout out my father, who I learned a lot from in the customer service venue. So whether you're selling shower doors, Division 8, which we're going to pull more of out of Division 10, one of the shower door people that I admire and took a lot of information from, especially in the beginning and even now, and you should check out his website, is high end, is Mr. Shower Door. His name is Tom Whitaker out of Norwalk, Connecticut. I think he's on record for being one of the first, if not the first person to really start marketing heavy glass frameless shower doors. I believe in like the late 70s, early 80s. And what I always was fascinated by Tom, and of course, he was in a market that allowed him to do this. Not that everybody can't, but his market was heavy on the Gold Coast up in Norwalk, Connecticut. A lot of all the rich bankers out of Manhattan would come into Connecticut. So he was kind of servicing that area. So there's a lot of money. He always provided a super high end product. It wasn't your typical production type of shower enclosure. Not that there's not space for that. That's not what he wanted to do. He wanted to focus on the heavy glass frameless enclosures with not even the aluminum channel, like solid brass, and then he'd have it plated and the high-end handles. You could just tell when you look at his website or showroom, it's like a jewelry store. I mean, he really creates value. The people going into his place aren't asking about price. They can just tell when they go in there. They're like, it's like the person going to buy a Rolex. They're not looking at the price. They know they want, if you got to ask for the price, you can't afford it. And he was always catering to that. Then I'd say Gary V, you mentioned earlier, on my approach to getting attention to provide the high-end heavy glass shower enclosures. And then the third person, I've mentioned this on a couple of podcasts before. His name is Chris Voss, who's kind of like I would deem an expert on the art of negotiation through empathy. So it's kind of a three-pronged approach. I want to carry a high-end product. I need to get attention to sell my high-end product. And then once I have the opportunity, I need to know how to handle it at a high level so they're not shopping my cheap competition and stealing the job from us. So those would probably be the three that I would refer to you.
Yeah, good stuff, guys. I appreciate it.
This is a fun podcast.
I have like 20 more, but I mean, yeah.
Well, why don't you go ahead and hit us with a couple more? Your next two favorites, since we're almost out of time.
Let's see. How much work comes through interior designers, and how do you keep that relationship without getting beaten on price?
I think it's the same thing as what Mr. Shower Door does. It's premium designers. They want a premium product, similar to a banking executive wants a BMW, right? So designers, their job is to make a custom home beautiful, right? And if you position yourself as the high end and you have products that are branded as such, that is how you can stand out to a designer from competition who's trying to install a shower door in front of a wine cellar, or who doesn't put out conditions on their mirrors, right? So I think it's just about brand positioning, and then actually going through and actually delivering, like you said you were. Just do what you say you're going to do and position yourself high. And as long as you can deliver, then custom home builders and designers, they're basically one and the same to me, because one builder works with all the designers, one designer works with all the builders, and they each have employees that spread off and go to other design firms and other builders. So that's like another like spiderweb effect I forgot to bring up before in the high-end market specifically. High-end designers, high-end builders, that's what I take care of, because I know it's going to multiply over time.
I agree with what Brandon said. And to dovetail on that specifically on you're saying like the actual overcoming the objection of price, because a lot of these old school designers are like, well, if I carry your number forward, how much are you going to pay me? I think it's a sequencing issue, meaning when I know a designer's on the phone with me, I'm going to start asking questions that I already know the answers to, but I need them to think about those answers, because it'll keep them away from asking the price. For instance, if James LaRocca is a designer and he calls my architectural glass, in the very beginning of the conversation, I'm going to ask how you heard about us. And you might say, oh, I seen your social media, or we used another glass guy and he kind of dropped the ball on my last customer and it really hurt our firm. And I would say something to the tune of, sounds like you're looking for someone you can trust. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, I can't go through that experience again. It was a nightmare. Now, I'm not talking about price right now, but we're gonna have that conversation that I just set up. Now let's fast forward to the end of it. Okay, well, I got your pricing. It seems to be a little bit more than what I've purchased in the past. And I'm gonna say something to the effect like, respectfully, you were sharing with me earlier that past person that was giving you a better price wasn't necessarily giving you the service that you were looking for. Is that wrong? And I will kind of unpack it that way. So I think it's a sequence issue. If you can set up the customer before you even get to the price of talking about price or value, I think it'll subconsciously keep them away from even asking that, because everybody and their mother knows, it's just logically thinking, if I can trust you and you're going to go into this high-end bathroom where there's $100,000 worth of marble and start drilling holes, I probably shouldn't be beating you up on price. I'm more concerned about you getting the job done and not foobarring the whole bathroom that we just went through. So it's kind of a real innocuous approach, but that's how I like to go about it.
Appreciate it. I know it's double clicking a little bit on what you said earlier, but I feel like that's great wisdom. So appreciate it. And just curious more on residential. Where do you bleed on residential remakes, breakage, callbacks, measure errors? What did you fix to stop it?
So this is what I was talking about earlier, where you really got to have the right person for the right job. And so I live in residential. I enjoy it. Like I said, I've been in both worlds, and I really enjoy residential because it's something that gets developed over time. So what I mean is, like when someone first becomes an installer, before they can become an installer, they have to work in the shop and they have to learn all the hardware, learn how to handle glass. They have to learn these skills before they can then become a helper. So they become a helper, they follow a lead, and they have to be a helper for so many months or years, depending on how fast they learn, until they can become a lead. And then once they become a lead, then they become a measurer. And then after they've been a measurer, then they become a salesperson. So what I'm saying is you don't just get someone that and put them into a upper position, like a measurer, for example, that's never installed a shower door before, because then they're not going to know what to look for or what to tell a customer to look out for. And that's ultimately what's going to bite you. And then if they can't do math and fractions to save their life, then obviously the glass isn't going to fit. And if you have a guy that's never installed a heavy piece of glass before with no help trying to install a piece of glass, I guess what the point I'm trying to make is the experience is almost everything, I think, when it comes to high-end interior work and mentorship.
Yeah, I think it's like any other position within the company. If you're not constantly training, coaching, and just kind of throwing somebody off to the wolves, you better be prepared. You better be prepared to take on whatever's going to come back. If you find a diamond in the rough and they're perfect at measuring and they're closing all deals, that's great. It's not a high probability of happening. We've gone through different cycles within our business where the glass ordering was less than desirable, but really can't blame anybody else but ourselves, because then you got to ask yourself, how much training, how much time did we put into helping this individual? And in today's day and age too, with technology where it's at, a lot of people haven't even implemented some of this new software to help lean out that process, which I think you're in an interesting position, because if you're just starting that, you don't know any different right now, and you don't have to deal with the transition of like untraining and then retraining again. I would advocate for you to heavy technology on entering the glass dimensions and allowing it to spit out the glass order for you based on the deductions and parameters that you set in there. And then it's sending it right to your glass supplier. There's still a lot of us, including us, that do our glass orders, I'm almost embarrassed to say, by hand. That said, we have our own glass manufacturing, so there's kind of a nuance there that everyone doesn't know about, but we're slowly moving into our own technology where the iPads have the digital takeoff, which creates the glass order, and the glass order can be sent to the manufacturer straight from the house, which I'm extremely anxious to get that out and rolling. We're very good at making tabletops for a long period of time. That's what we called the mismeasures. Oh, I just made 3 tabletops.
Oh yeah. So I think that could be a whole nother episode on how
Yeah.
we actually measure and order and use technology, because that's very. I have a lot to say about that, but we're running out of time. So I'm just gonna leave it off with one more question. And I understand you guys do primarily interior commercial. I'd imagine you do a lot of Herc doors, right? So who is your favorite company to get your Herculite doors from?
FHC all the way. Yeah, they do a great job. I feel like the wisdom of the
Who?
glass trade. FHC.
Oh, okay.
Why?
Yeah, I feel like the wisdom of the glass trade is it's house there. I feel like they who they have there. I mean, it's a lot of the original leadership of CRL. I hate to say, but they have really. My friend Andrew Harding over there does a great job there with the marketing. Been gracious enough to show me the shop several times, and just getting to meet the leadership over there. I mean, as well as just what they
Great
do,
company.
customer service. They have a service center out here in Dallas. We work well with their outside sales rep John Matty. So here, shout out to him. He does a great job as well. Just seeing him at all the North Texas events as well. And so they just do a good job of just taking care of their people and just being reliable. And ever since the beginning when they opened up, I was one of the first ones to see their new place in California. Just having in-laws out there. They always preached about stocking everything at the top. Like they want to make sure they have stuff for everyone. And so just run a good crew and run good systems as well. So
Awesome.
Well, thank you very much for hanging out with us today. I feel like this can go on for 10 hours, but unfortunately, we got to call it quits. So with that said, thank you very much. And to everybody watching, thank you for tuning in. Go ahead and click like and subscribe if you will, and we'll see you in the next episode. Peace.